So welcome to another edition of the Diversity Dialogue. With me, I have Shamla Naidoo. Shamla, I'm going to read this out because I'm not sure I'm going to cover everything, right? Global CISO, digital transformation expert, CIO, board member, risk leader, attorney. Anything that I missed?
No, that's good
Okay.
enough.
All right. And it's important to actually bring that perspective because the topic is about diversity, right? Again, the various roles that you have had and the more that are in the future actually brings a very unique perspective. So glad you could join the show.
I'm really happy to be Ashwin. Thank you for inviting me.
So maybe why don't we start off a quick introduction about yourself and your journey, and then we'll dive into the topic.
Sounds good. So I have spent the better part of my life in technology. I spent 39 years doing various technology roles, risk management, compliance, engineering roles. And the first half of my career was hardcore engineering behind a keyboard. The second half was in cybersecurity. And right now I have a portfolio career of a number of different things. I'm the head of cloud strategy and innovation for Netskope, but I also have two public company boards. I have a private company board, and I'm an adjunct law professor. I teach areas of information technology, innovation, and security law. And so, that gives me a wide variation of things that I'm interested in. But as that we've talked about, is one of the things that I am really, really passionate about is workforce development and making sure that we have not just an inclusive and diverse workforce, but also a workforce that works for the future of businesses, because without that, businesses are not going to really be as successful as we could otherwise be.
Yeah, and that's a great segue into the topic itself, right? Talking about success, and cybersecurity is obviously the definition of success is varied, but at a minimum, right? You're reducing risk and you're preventing the bad actors from coming in. And for that, you need a diverse mindset, right? An inclusive mindset. And one of the areas that isn't talked about as much, but increasingly getting more attention is the neurodiverse aspect, right? People with ADHD or ADD, Asperger's, autism, and there's a wide range of what neurodiversity really means. But the question is really about it's taken us so long, we're still barely there when it comes to gender equality in the workforce, right? And neurodiversity is obviously a new dimension. So from the aspects of just taking cybersecurity and exactly what you mentioned, which is the need for businesses to embrace this, what, in your opinion, have you seen organizations that are successful in really embracing neurodiversity and ones that are struggling with it?
I think it's just about having the right kind of culture of inclusivity. It's also having the right support. Because let's just think about it, right? In cybersecurity, one of the big obstacles for us getting anything that we need done is time. And if you look at a CISO's agenda, usually it's packed, right? And their remit is not just a static remit, it continues to grow. Nothing gets taken off the plate, many more things get added. And so, if you just look at any of these programs, there's a certain amount of unknown. There's also a certain amount of risk that you're taking in terms of putting people that you may not understand, who you may not know whether they have the skills, who may lack, some other skill or talent or trait that is required to do the job. And so a CISO's role is extremely stressful. And I think that's one of the big obstacles to us being and creating a more inclusive workforce, because, one, it's the stress of the job. They got to get the job done. They got to be everywhere. They got to be there all the time. They have to be, they just have to be switched on to the role every single moment of every single day. And, coupled with that, you have the bigger responsibility of a CISO. And then you got this time limitation. And I think those are the kinds of obstacles that cause us to not do as much as we need to do in this area. If we had time, all of us, I know many of my colleagues and peers in this field would want to embrace such programs, would want to support it and give it their time and their attention to create a workforce that is truly inclusive, including people with neurodiversity. But if you don't have the time to learn about it, to understand it, to know what the risks you're taking, to know how that might impact your remit and your agenda for your organization, it creates a very complicated and stressful condition. And I do think that, somehow if you have the support of the organization, if you have the right kind of structure and culture and funding to help with, supporting these individuals, I think CISOs will do a whole lot more, and they will create a workforce that not just works for them, but that is also rich and diverse.